Well, hey there. So it's been a little bit of a while, and I'd really wanted to get this video up in December, but I got the flu, pretty hardcore, knocked me on my butt, and then had to do antibiotics, and those really messed me up, almost more than the flu. So a little behind on the videos that I wanted to be getting out, but I thought today it'd be fun to sit and go through Chanel Days tag, end of the year tarot tag. I don't think I did this last year. Yeah, rough season sometimes. So I'm looking forward to doing the tag now. So I'm going to get us flipped around, get us crackling with a little bit of a wood wick that hopefully won't be too loud. We'll see how she plays out. If she does get a little too chatty, we'll switch things up. But yeah, let's get flipped around and take a look back at this year a bit. Okay, so the first tag is the deck I loved using most this year. And these are all tough ones. Everyone knows this, right? But I think in particular, I had to really think with this one because most of my practice this year was oriented around tough things, getting through tough things, grief, and all kinds of stuff like that. So I didn't really get to engage all that much with the parts of practice that feel a little more fun, exploratory type stuff for me. I was just trying to get through it, okay? So, but I do have a deck that I'm gonna pick for this, and that's going to be Honey Lavender Tarot, because as far as loved using, this one got me excited. This one has felt fun to read with. I have actually done one or two kind of fun readings. One was a finding a lost thing. Maybe I'll do like a readings in retrospect type video about at some point, just because it was kind of fun. And these are cards I have set aside because I'm still doing a thing. But yeah, Honey Lavender Tarot, this style of art is just really fun for me. It's something that one of those like didn't know I wanted but wanted, or didn't necessarily put into words that I wanted. A few of the cards are quite dark. This is the Knight of Cups, but I think this is like a midnight scene with this guy on horseback kind of petitioning his love to her up in the balcony. So kind of, I get why it's dark. But as far as like enjoyed using, I'm picking this one because I just find it fun. I find it enchanting and delightful. I don't know. It's not, most of the decks that I've worked with, and even many of the decks that I just have in general, are quite serious. And this one feels like storybook in a way that is modern, but isn't modern in a way that I don't really like, because I don't tend to gravitate towards decks that have a very super modern feel, like Lightseer's Tarot. I've flipped through that one at a store where they had it, and it's really beautiful, but it just feels a little too modern for me. This one has the fantasy aspect to it, and so I've really enjoyed working with it. I only got it towards the very tail end of the year, and so of all the decks I've worked with in 2025 proper, it has the least amount of use, I would say, but I really, really, really enjoyed this deck so much. So that is my pick for the deck I've loved using most in 2025. All right, the next prompt is most recent edition, and that is the Green Witch's Oracle. This was a little bit of an impulse. It's been on my wish list, but I think I saw Thea talking about it, and just looking at the cards as she was going through them, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And I did. I got it. It was sort of Honey Lavender Tarot was kind of my Christmas gift to self type thing, because that's more of an investment deck, but this is mass market, and the price, unfortunately on Amazon, which I try to avoid, but it was a good price on there and I needed to order something anyway. So Green Witch's Oracle. This is This feels like a very utilitarian type deck for me in a witchy practice, sort of along the lines of Lost Oracle is another one of those, or Seasons of the Witch, like daily type draw decks that fit into witchy practice and align well. It sort of reminded me a little bit of with Compendium of Witches, you have that one half of the deck that is sort of all things or particular elements or seasons. And this reminded me of that, but like way expanded, way more cards. And so I really enjoyed working with that earlier in autumn. And so I wanted something like this. And I've been using it as just a daily morning draw because I'm still toying around with if I want to do morning draws in my practice, because most of my tarot practice is geared around like deeper journaling. And sometimes I like switching it up because with the deeper journaling, especially this past year, I'm getting into the practice stuff, but whatever. Most of my deeper journaling, like I'll pull a set of cards and it's going so deep into things or or confronting something that's so, how do I say, something I really need to sit with for a few days to get all the juice out of the lemon type thing. And because of that, it kind of was giving me this gap where I almost, I was just itching to be able to pull a card and not have it go that deep and be more specific to the day, which was unexpected for me because I've not in the past several years really gone for that type of practice. But I think because now I'm at the place where I feel comfortable going into deeper work with the cards, and it's quite gone there. And sometimes I really need to sit with something for a few days to process the message fully and sometimes to confront journaling about it, honestly. So this has been nice to have a deck like this, which really lends itself beautifully to like just getting a message for the day. And also, I think it would lend itself to deeper messages, to being a good clarifier, but I've only had it for like, I don't know, 10 days or whatever it's been. So, but I've been working with it every day because it just fits right into a comfortable, approachable, pull one card in the morning. And just like when I do try to journal with it still, but it's just very brief and direct. And I'm quite liking that and being able to have that. Also, really, really beautifully done box. And I love the backs on these, although I did pick different decks for that prompt. All right, so the deck that isn't my usual style, but I'm vibing with it, Verdance Tarot. I mean, I can't say this is like totally not my style, because I think there are a lot of things about it that are, but I wasn't sure when I was first seeing it. Let me not light things ablaze here. I wasn't sure when I was first seeing it kind of go around, because it kind of falls into the category of very packed artwork, like so many details in each of the cards. But here's the thing. I saw that the artist had a YouTube channel, and I'll try to link it below. And I just fell in love watching her art process, like of crafting it, and especially just the amount of intention that's gone into the images. The guidebook for this deck is really great and has like a whole key for the symbols that is, and even just the beginning part of the guidebook goes into a lot of stuff and speaks about the artwork, different practices. But there's this whole symbols key, which is really neat and fun to have, especially with a deck like this that is so symbolically rich in the artwork and how intentional things were. This death card is also like a huge reason why I was like, oh my God, I love it. So I was like, there are other decks, I think even one by this creator, am I right? That she did another tarot deck. Was it Shadowscapes or something? That where I've seen them and thought to myself, it's too busy for me. And I haven't really worked with this much because I think I got it during a Llewellyn sale, and I just was like adding it to make me feel better. I didn't want to ship just like one deck. So I added it in kind of as a chance type thing. And I mean, I've flipped through it. I think I did the introductory like interview spread that I usually do. Pretty sure I'd have to check back. But as much as this is like a spring deck for me, I was very enthralled when I got it and was like, you know, it is very busy. It is the type of deck that I'm probably only going to be pulling 2-3 cards max, and it will take me time of being comfortable with it to feel like getting overwhelmed with more cards, because this artwork really is just so detailed and so packed with symbols and things going on. And of course, it's not like a RWS clone in any way. So it invites you to seep into it. Even this tower card, like, it's so busy, but also because it's watercolor and the color palette and everything, it's also very serene. And these, like, Judgment, I just love this. I don't know how close I can get because honestly, this artwork is just so beautiful that it could be also part of the most beautiful deck of the year type tag, but it definitely fits that category of, like, I usually would not go for a deck quite like this because of how jam-packed it feels, but I'm sort of in love with it, and it will be more of a spring type deck for me, spring, summer maybe. So I haven't dived really into it, like I said, but it's so beautiful, and I'm really looking forward to sinking into it more when the time comes. Really, really cool deck, and I just really adored seeing her process of painting these. I think this was one of the ones where there was a video of her painting it, and in the increasingly digitally dystopian world of AI, especially with art and decks and artists, it kind of breaks my heart as someone who has been and was a person of craft and creating things for a long time. It's something I hope to get back to this year, but I have to say the, like, ambient noise of AI in the realm of art of all kinds is kind of soul-sucking in a way, as much as I also see where, you know, aside from the environmental things, conceptually AI can be a really useful tool. I hate seeing it infringe on the most human of things, which is the most sacred of human of things, which is creativity. I hate that part. So I think the immense amount of artistry that went into this I just fell in love with that. And yes, I'm excited to work with this in 2026. Hopefully this spring it will call out to me and we can spend some time getting to know one another. So now we're on favorite deck pairing. I could do a whole video on deck pairings and my favorite deck pairings from 2025 or in general, because, like, pairing decks is one of my passion things. So I took a bunch of my favorites and tried to go with ones I had kind of shown a bit less. And we are going to see which one we're going to talk about here, because I don't want to go on and make this super long. If you guys do want to see pairing, like a whole video about pairing. Oh, is that our deck pair? Okay. If you want to see that, let me know, but I'm going to pick just one. Oh, and it is this one. Okay. So this is, in fact, my pride and joy pairing of 2025. So be right back. So this is actually going to be more of a deck family because it's this pairing plus one, but we already spoke about Honey Lavender a bit, but part of what has given me such why it's the most loved of the year, which is crazy considering I've had it the least amount of time. So I kind of was like, should I even put it in here? But part of why is because I finally had the perfect pair for Lopatin. And then since then also realized I have a third perfect. Oh, I'm gonna have to edit this for the big digital eye in the YouTube sky. 1 second. Okay, so the triptych pair that is my pride and joy of 2025 to have discovered and acquired is Honey Lavender Tarot, Lopatin. Yes, those need to be set aside because they're still part of a reading I'm working with. Anyway, Honey Lavender, Lopatin, and then The Wolves Within, Oracle by Rio Burton. The three of these together is my everything. Let me zoom you in. Yeah, I'm just so jazzed about these three together, how they work artistically, and at this point I've been working with them a fair bit. This and another pair of decks are my mains right now for my deeper practice, and the way they read together and work with one another, it just all sings and syncs up beautifully for me. And for whatever reason, Lopatin I couldn't connect with, and I didn't understand. I didn't understand why, because I really love the artwork. I think the guidebook is approachable. Sometimes my initial reaction to the artwork and then what was in the guidebook would be a little different, but I could generally still see it, and it was stretching me in that way, but I just wasn't really sinking into it and feeling called to it. It was like more this sense of, you're not ready yet, put me away. But having these three together and just this tarot deck to work with this and a tarot deck to work with it in general, I think really unlocked it for me. And I feel very connected to this deck now. And I'm very grateful for that, because it was sort of wallowing in my cabinet despite my earnest desire to work with it. And this has served as a really great clarifier with the Wolves Within when I want a little more specificity and clarity around, what nuance a card is coming through to talk about. And that's worked really beautifully. So I don't always pull this one in, but I like to just because. And also when I do want that deeper clarity, it's worked beautifully for that. And I think I've talked about it in my last video. The three of these together have become part of my Hecate practice, which was completely unexpected because just my initial impression with Hecate, prior to working with her was, I would not have thought this, there she is, this would be the deck, but this card came out and this coming up with water is very pertinent, and now I want to look up what this is about. The moon card has been stalking me across everything I'm using. So, but let's see, keeping quiet for card number 8 from Lopatin. In the starry night of our life, the moon, naturally, casts light on the way. The air is fresh and suggests something new is coming, but not just yet. One must rest, enjoy the moment, and let the wind bring things to us. Something can be seen in the distance, a danger or a message. We wait for it to approach without taking the initiative. If we can, let us remain calm. Sometimes waiting for things to come to us without putting pressure on ourselves gives us the time to understand how we want to approach them when they come down to us, or when they come to us. Waiting, however, does not mean turning off our senses, which must remain alert in order to seize all opportunities. Beautiful. That message resonates deeply with all the other messages that have been coming up. The moon, the water, everything. It just, the sync between these has been continuous and unyielding and in the most beautiful of ways. And while a lot of what I've been working with Hecate so far has been kind of gut punchy in many ways, I think this has been such a beautiful aspect to practice because it's given a softening to things. You know, this is like that sun haze pastel type of situation. I love the atmosphere, the narrative of this deck, and the way that these all pair together has just cream of the crop for pairings. So I love that jumped out of my little handful of possibilities there. The next prompt was divination accessories. So I have a lot. I like to accessorize, okay? I'm not going to pretend to be a minimalist when I'm not. There are things I really enjoy adding into practice when and where I can, although I do have my bare bones, which frankly is a candle. Lighting the candle for me and having them be only for use for working with the cards is sort of on multiple layers a touch point for me, from the scientific perspective of ADHD, from the witchy perspective of bringing in fire as an element, and also scent and ambient setting. This one is my preferred candle with Lacrimosa, although I do have one other candle. I think it's Edinburgh Library by Phantom Row, but this one, Blackthorn, oh my God. This is like, for me, the perfect one with Lacrimosa, but they have probably several that would work really well in terms of fragrance. But yeah, the other, I put a smattering of things, because how do I pick? My journal, this is my deeper work journal. This is the one I put the most time and effort into. I do a ritual with each journal when I start a new one, but there's the most work I put into this in terms of sitting to take the time to write as a ritual, as sitting with sacred space and contemplation and intuition, recording readings, in depth, all of that. I do have a new addition to my situation here because I've been doing the daily draws, and that's a little notebook for those, which I've just started doing to see how I feel about that, because I don't really want it. Like, I'll sometimes take 3-4 days to finish an entry about a particular set of cards, so I need somewhere else to do the daily draw, like just quick little note thing. So that's these journals. This is eventually going to be in a traveler's notebook style thing that is coming Monday to put together. Oh, wait, hold on, cat problems. Yeah, so journals are huge. I never thought that I'd be super comfortable working with like what I think are the most beautiful journals, which are these clasp-bound paper blanks journals. But I think having it be a sacred object for me, consecrating it, going into it with ritual, and then treating it like that has made me feel a lot more comfortable working in and messing up now and again a beautiful journal. And all the ones I have filled over the years feel special to me. They feel sacred. They sacredly capture that point of time in my life and growth and perspective as it grew and changed. So I love having these. I love looking at them. They make me want to write in them and to feel like I need to honor this beautiful notebook, this beautiful journal. So that's part of it. There's visual and ambience and other things that go into my practice that help me anchor into it. And recording readings is one of those things. Now, the other couple of things I have here, where do I go? So, other couple of things. The things that I've made and also enjoy using, which is like really when I'm adding on things, but particularly with deity work, I like adding on things. So going in with fragrance, these are ritual oils from Hagroot, who I think I found through, was it Tarot Shrink? I think, yeah, that's where I heard of them. And I felt interested looking at their site, and so I ordered some samples, and this is a Crossroads oil, which smells beautiful and resonates for me, and then Sea Hag, because ocean has been a big theme in things lately. I'm definitely getting a big one or a bigger one of both of these. This was like a little sample, which I love that she or they, I'm not sure, let you have like get these smaller samples. That's been really great. And like ones like Sea Hag, I was pretty sure I was going to like it, and it resonated exactly with the energy that I've been working with in the description of it. So I went with a little bit of a bigger sample, but I definitely want to upgrade my sizes here for those. And then something I've made that I use basically every day are these little card stands, which I made with air dry clay. Do I have anything loose here? This is from Silver Acorn Tarot, but kind of fits the point, and you're not gonna be able to see it, and this is too small a stand for such a big card. But to have these card stands, especially because my altar space where I really write in my deeper journaling is rather small, and just the lighting and everything, it's a lot easier to have the cards stood up. And yeah, I want to make more of these because I have a handful. I have a few that are on more that are on altars that hold up a more permanent card, that type of thing. But these have been great. Kind of did a bunch of trial and error in terms of making some of these that would work for me. But yeah, the oils, these are for anointing things myself and candles. And so I love having those as part of my practice. This is basically like the loot drop tag, like mini form. I'm trying to move a little quickly, but whatever. Loot drop. Next loot drop item is tea. And I drink tea every day. I drink all kinds of tea every day. My go-to is just Japanese sencha green tea. But I've really, really loved Artemis Tea and Botanical the past couple years. I think I started out because I was looking for something Artemis related and came across them. And this is back when I was working exclusively with Artemis, and they have a hunter's tea that I love, and that is my dedicated tea to Artemis. So when I'm working with her or making an offering, that's dedicated there. But I have branched out and tried their other teas over the years, whatever it's been. And this is my favorite kind of like all-purpose tea at the moment, Hexa. And I believe it's part of the winter blends. And I've tried several other winter blends from them as well. And I just love all of them. But this one, the black walnut blackberry, it's what I'm drinking right now. It is, and if you read this description of the tea, it very accurately describes the exact sensation and notes that I get. Like I even get the walnut, which I wasn't expecting to have that come through so much, but the walnut, the malt, the blackberry, the black tea as the base, the touch of like a honey note, elderberry, like it all coalesces into a beautiful tea. And so this is like my go-to general tea. I also have one that I kind of have dedicated just to working with Hecate. And what else? They had a Persephone tea I quite liked, but it felt more maiden energy. So I didn't repurchase it, not because it wasn't good, but just because for the work I was doing with Persephone, it wasn't quite the it factor. But, this is like extra stuff, right? It's not necessary, but I just really enjoy it. And their teas are so intentionally crafted. I love them. I think I have to look at, I think I'm part of like their rewards program. So I might even have some kind of link that if you want to get a discount, it might give you that or something like that. So if I do, I'll put it down there. And yeah, what else to say? I love tea. I love tea blends. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention with these, I have also used the leftover brewed teas in spell work and spell jars and things like that, and really loved and enjoyed doing that and looking up correspondences and realizing that they just line up beautifully with I don't know. I love their tea, basically. And I think, the last thing is a utilitarian item. So this is just tape to tape in pictures into journals and things. This utilitarian item, though, if you don't know about book clips, when it comes to like guidebooks, this is one of these things that is a great, whatever, $5 it was, I don't even remember, but great cheap tool that makes a huge difference because I can clip open a book, and if I want to write a sentence or two, I don't have to be stressing my hand on sometimes tightly bound smaller books or even bigger books, doesn't matter. I can just have it stationary and open to the page I want it on and leave it like that. The other trick is when you close it, if it's kind of like bent open, if you kind of clip the book like this for a little while, it helps reset it. So book clip, really, really useful. Extraneous tool, divination accessory that's not expensive and is insanely useful. So I think next we are on card backs. So let me switch around things and get the decks. Oh, also, would anyone want to see like a candle deck pairing type video? Because like I would love to do that. I don't have like a candle for every deck or anything, but when I have a candle and a deck that fits and it makes a good marriage, I kind of love that. So if anyone would actually be interested in seeing that type of thing just for fun, let me know. I also pretty much exclusively buy small business candles. I love to support small businesses wherever I can, and also they make the best candles, let's be honest. And so, yeah, if anyone wants to see that type of thing, and I could also like shout out the small business candle makers that I love, that would be super fun. So I might just do that at some point. When it comes to card backs, there's so many. It's hard to pick. But when I think about the decks that I've gotten this year and the ones that come to mind first would be Stone and Shadow Oracle. I don't know, this probably isn't the most exciting back to some, but I really love these backs. I love the atmosphere of them. I love the colors. I love the energy, the vibe, the nuance. I love how they look, especially with the gold edges. And this deck is one of my favorite oracles. So as far as card backs go, Stone and Shadow for sure. It reminds me kind of like more autumn colored labradorites, which are rarer to come by, but they do exist, and I do have some in my vault of gemstones. So I think that's part of what I love about it so much. The stone that I put on top of this is actually hypersense or hyperscene. I can't remember how to pronounce it. And it also reminds me of that. So these I love them. It feels like the perfect deck back for me. I don't know. I love them and this deck. So that is the first one that came to mind. The second is a deck that I specifically bought because of the backs, or a large part because of the backs. And that is the Tell Me That You Love Me Oracle, but the French mass market edition. And a huge reason why I got this one and didn't wait at the time for the English mass market is because I loved the backs and I loved this gold bordering. Although having seen the Rock Pool edition, like, yes, it would be so much easier for me to work with it if it were in English. But I like the edge of mystery that sometimes this deck gives me, and the backs are just glorious, and I wanted them. And I got this to pair with Lacrimosa. And for the most part, I can figure out what it means without having to do translation. But of course, when it comes to the book, oh geez, I have to be careful. When it comes to the book, I do need to use Google Translate for the most part because any of the French I learned back in high school has completely evaporated for the most part from my brain. Sadly, I never had a consistent place to use it. So, but yeah, beautiful deck. I love the backs. There is a new there is a new version of not this deck, but like an encore deck to this one that builds on it, I guess. And I'm tempted. I don't know. We'll see. This is a very romance intended or romance coded deck, but I do enjoy using it for self-love and relationships in general, or questions about relationships that aren't necessarily about one right now, but about, in general, wisdom about relationships, because I think that's always something useful. The book is also really great. I believe the mass market Rockpool deck backs are much more like this cover of the book. And then the new French edition of like the second, I guess I'll just say encore deck to this one has this as the back, but it's all new cards and stuff. But yeah, the guidebook I do have to translate, but it feels beautiful. The write-ups are lovely. A lot of the time I end up just working with the keywords, particularly because I'm not generally reading with it about like a deeper romantic situation and trying to divine what's going on romantically. And yeah, I just love this deck for the backs, honestly. It's my favorite part of this deck and probably one of my favorite backs of deck in my collection. Okay, deck with a theme that I like. That is going to be the Deathly Flowers Tarot. This deck, and of course she's on the bottom, this deck by Chanel, who created this tag, is one of my favorite decks, and as far as Persephone practice goes, taps into an energy of Persephone that is harder to find in decks. I mean, we have Tarot of Persephone's Garden and even the Chthonian edition. This speaks to me more of like sovereign fire aspect of Persephone and her kind of owning herself and sensuality and rage and all these I don't know, just a different aspect of her that I've liked and really benefited from having in my collection. And there's a freshness to this deck. I love the collage of it. I've loved reading with it, and it's given me a different tap in that I was sort of looking for with working with Persephone. It's beautiful, it's fun, it reads in a way that feels a little flirtatious, but like flirting with danger a little bit in a way that I really enjoy and that resonated with a certain aspect that I was feeling from Persephone that I was being called to explore. So this deck and Chanel making it available was just like beautiful timing, because it was also right around that time, I think, when I realized that she had made it available. So for me, this is probably my favorite theme of tarot deck, at least for 2025. And yeah, I love this deck so much. Oh, so beautiful. Love the death card. I love how the aces are handled, just everything. Also, I love the backs. Speaking of backs, I actually really love these. So that is my favorite theme of deck, tarot deck anyway, for 2025. So for most beautiful deck this year, that's really hard because every single deck I have, I think, is beautiful. But I did decide to go with Sacred Earth Oracle because the main reason I got this deck was because I was so captivated with the artwork. The backs are underwhelming and don't represent what's on the other side of the cards, although at least color-wise, I quite like them. But those could have been better. But the artwork in this deck, I wasn't even sure, like, to me, I was like, oh, the keywords are quite simple. I wasn't really sure how I felt about the guidebook when I was seeing it, but the artwork captivates me. I love the detail. I love the I don't even know. Just the style of artwork I think is phenomenal. And I had kind of decided I wanted this deck no matter what, because I get to have all of this artwork regardless of whether or not it became a deck that was like very deeply ingrained in my practice. I'm pretty sure, I think I got this around the time or with Verdant's Tarot, and these pair beautifully together. It is a little busy on busy type energy, but the fact that this is so busy, but the keyword is very clear and simple, kind of alleviates that in a way. But do you see what I mean? Like, this is just so beautiful. This actually feels a little autumn to me, and I could see it pairing with other decks like Lonely Dreamer or any like really earthy feeling decks as well. But like, oh, I love this. I love this so much. This is so gorgeous. Like, if I were going to, pick one card of the year to get like an actual proper, like if I could have the original painting of type thing for the year to be able to hang in my space, I think it would be from this deck, because I love the style of this artwork. I love the texture. I love the layers. I love the color palette. I just love flipping through it just to look at the art even. I haven't worked with it a ton because I sort of figured I was going to be pairing it with Verdant's. But I don't know, maybe I'll pull it out and have it be part of the morning practice thing, because that's a thing I'm doing now. And this prompt made me pull it out because it just made me think of this. The artwork is just so beautiful and so flowing. And oh God, like this, look at this. It's gorgeous. Just gorgeous. So we've basically looked through the whole deck, but I mean, gorgeous. So that is what I'm going with when it comes to most beautiful deck. The next prompt is a deck I wish existed, or a unicorn deck that I want. So I'm going to go with unicorn deck and say, what is it? The Earth and Bone Oracle, but the indie Kickstarter edition, because the thing that's held me back from that deck and getting the mass market is I really don't like what was done with the borders and stuff like that. Especially when I see the indie version of it, I really prefer the aesthetic of the indie. I don't think I've ever come across it for resale, so I don't know. It's very much a unicorn deck. I'm not sure how many were even printed from the Kickstarter, and it might be the kind of deck that like people generally don't want to move on once they have it, which is completely understandable because it looks like a beautiful and deep, interesting deck to add into practice. But maybe at some point I'll get the mass market. And I think it was Dawn Michelle trimmed her copy, and I might like it better trimmed, but I don't know if I can stomach my handwriting on the cards. I don't know that I would like that. So, and it makes it a really petite deck, and it still doesn't have the same thing as the indie. So I don't know. That's my unicorn. We'll see. Card that sums up this year as a whole. Oh boy. So that's probably gonna be this card, 5 of Water, 5 of Cups. This year was really about grief on many levels. Also, I would say, in a lot of ways, some of which I don't even want to get into, my card of the year also was very much thematically on point, if I could find her. But yeah, I would say the card that kind of speaks to one of the bigger themes of my year was definitely 5 of Cups, and dealing with grief and feeling grief and thinking I'm okay with the grief and then plummeting back into the grief and having a hard time moving on from things and sometimes not wanting to. And having to tell myself, okay, you don't want to, we're not going to, then let's dive into it. And then also getting to points where it felt like the in-between, where I wasn't quite willing or able to look into the 3 spilled cups, but I also wasn't looking at the 2 upright and was stuck in this weird other place. But yeah, the other card would be Justice. In some ways, I've mentioned before, our young dog tragically passed away, and I don't know that I really got justice, but I tried to at least follow through on what I felt was fair, considering everything. And there's legal system justice, and there's also having difficult conversation justice, and thinking through what is the thing that would make the most impact as far as justice goes. Because sometimes, I don't know, it was just an interesting concept I had to deal with, and I felt like I had to step into the role of trying to uphold justice in that way, and then also the themes of justice played out in other ways in life of looking at and recognizing truths, and not letting emotions or the turbulence of emotions negate or thwart or serve as a way to deny the truths. So anyway, those would be the cards that I would say would describe my year. But of course, as we get to the section I had wanted to spend the most time on, we've already had quite a bit of time here, so I will keep it brief, I suppose. And reflecting on practice, let's see. So these contain my year of practice. This is actually 1 journal down from the usual number. I tend to go through 4 journals, is what I was saying. And in terms of reflecting on my practice, I really struggled this year. I struggled to wrap up this journal because this covers the span of time before, leading up to, and after my brother passed. This one I think I got through rather okay. Except then our dog passed. This, which would have been filled up quicker, wasn't, because I couldn't engage with my practice in that kind of way during the many months or couple months span of summer where I was really dealing with all the stuff that happened with Chloe and dealing with the people and everything. And then that's kind of carried on. I've had a hard time at points sitting with journaling this year compared to other years. I've taken a lot more time to sit with readings because the nature of them has been on a deeper level, spiritually, emotionally, and everything than probably previous years, partially because of circumstance and partially because I'm more comfortable to do that now with the cards, but probably mostly circumstance, because there have just been nights where I've even lit the candle and I've sat to journal and I just couldn't. I was avoiding it. So my practice has been complicated this year is what it feels like the right word to use. It's been at the same time, the place of my greatest solace, but sometimes I didn't even want solace. It's, if you have been through grief, you know what I mean, I think. There are points where in the grief spiral where I was like in the stasis and I didn't want to get out of the stasis, or where I felt numb. And so I couldn't even, it's like I couldn't connect. And then when I would, it would be like floodgates. And so it's been interesting trying to find the temper on that. I do feel like I'm at that point now. And I think the thing I started doing in autumn, experimenting with kind of morning daily draws, started to open me back up a bit when I felt pretty jammed up, because it was giving me a touch point to tap in with my intuition and spirituality where it wasn't all so intense necessarily. Maybe some themes would still show up in the daily draw that were related, but it wasn't so intense. But I could still engage with the cards and with spiritual communication or insight, but in a way that wasn't quite like digging down into the pits of things. But at the same time, when I look through those journals and I look through both at themes that repeated, readings that came up, that like I was just looking through at some of the Persephone work I did and realizing like some of the stuff I'm doing with Hecate was hinted at back then as like in very specific ways where I'm like, okay, this is re-engaging me to be able to look back on this and to have this record of what came up in readings, and it's okay that it's kind of sometimes been touched on just as like here's a little nudge and we'll come back to it in a few months, but there's the seed. And I don't know, looking at it that way has been interesting. And then having this little way less, I don't want to say pressure, because like it makes it sound, how do I put this? Those journals carry so much realness of me that they are precious and sacred to me. And I would not want to know what I'd be like without them, especially through grief, but difficult stuff at the same time. So starting to expand my practice, or at least have something in the rotation of tools of how to work with it that allows me to feel engaged spiritually, because it was sort of like a pendulum swinging between going really deep and into it and not at all. And I didn't like the not at all, and I couldn't always handle the swinging deep into it. And I think something I've learned this like last little portion, last couple months of the year, is that it's okay to engage with things and experiment with a little bit of lighter stuff, even when I know that there's deeper work I need to be doing, because as is now my card of the year for 2026, the Hanged Man has valid things to teach. Sometimes you just need to hang with it and not try to move one way or another and just surrender. And that's a whole other topic I could get into. And when it comes to the final prompt to pull a card for the year, or a deck I want to use, let's see, hold on. I think here's what I want to do. Because my card of the year for 2026 is the Hanged Man, and that has been coming up in my card work end of December and until now. I kind of want to pull it out from Lacrimosa. Let's see. So this is my card of 2026. And a deck I want to use more is Pocket Archetypes. I did use this at one point in spring. I got it when I was on a fun trip upstate, and I was surprised how much I liked it. I wanted to support, an independent bookstore, and it was sort of on my list of things to try. So I got it. They had the pocket edition, which I was like, yeah, I definitely, the full size is not going to be comfortable to shuffle. I already know. And I had a really great first reading with this, and went on to do some really great readings for friends using, I can't remember what the spread was, but it's like one of the main like story type telling spreads where you have the deck sifted out into its different archetypal categories, and for each pile pull a card. And that was such a great spread. And I was looking back on it when I was reflecting on my practice, how accurate and poignant. It has come full circle, even with, again, the Hecate work that I've been doing, which is why, like I said, I like having a record of my readings, and especially I kind of need them to be visual, so I print out. I don't for the daily draw thing because it just gets to be too much, but this was my spread from then, and it was, I think, who am I? What am I embodying? The hunter. What am I navigating? The ocean. What is my tool? The tears. And what is what is it, like the spiritual aim, or like the big thematic purpose of it? And it was Kairos, which is, I sort of related to being similar to the Judgment card, but it's like the right action at the right time. And that whole reading, I could do like a reading in retrospect on at some point maybe, but the way that's panned out. And then it being Year of the Horse, I think Fire Horse, is it? Not Water Horse, but still. Was interesting. So I think when it comes to pulling a card here, I'm going to pull from the archetypes and see particularly what, this could be two different questions, I suppose, like what the archetypal theme of 2026 will be, perhaps in relationship to the Hanged Man. The river. Wow. So now we have horseback and moving water. That would be interesting. The river. Movement. Brings me to Artemis. I associate Artemis a bit with rivers. What's on the bottom? The sustainer. Interesting. So I'm gonna, because I didn't work with this a ton, I have my associations with the river, but I think with Hanged Man and the river, it's like surrendering to the flow of the river, surrendering to the current, and inevitably going to that ocean. And I think that's sort of what comes through for me, is surrendering to that current, to that inevitable flow, and not fighting it. And let's see. Give me pause to look this up, because this little book has everything in it. I got to give them credit for putting everything in this little book, but give me a second to pull it out. Yep. All right. So you can only resist the river for so long. Eventually, it will pull you towards change. So you may as well get in with style and grace. What is this little? I love all the little like notes in this. The river is emotion. When you are in its current, you will know it by the bursting forth of tears, laughter, song, despair. All the emotions flow in its current. Yeah, surrendering to it, not fighting it. The stream, the flow, the current. There is a reason so many rituals of change and rebirth take place in the river. It is forgiveness embodied in physical form. Without asking anything in return, the river washes away what is no longer necessary, smoothing over sharp edges and accepting all our mistakes and grievances. Once we step in, we are no longer in control. The river carries us farther down the stream of transformation than we planned to go. Its waters have a special gift for reflecting back to us a new and dreamlike vision. Once the tears have passed, we see ourselves as we haven't before, with a little more lightness, grace, and fluidity. Keep in mind, the you that stands within the river is the real you, full of deep emotion, potential, nothing to hide, nothing to judge. May you drink in the sight of your true self. Acceptance, grace, reflection, forgiveness. And when in darkness, torment of emotions, flooding and overwhelm. So yeah, I'll have to look into the notes, because I love the little like trail to go down with the notes that are in this. I have connected deeply with those when I have gone to look them up, and I find this to be so quintessential, given the initial reading I did with this deck, with the Hunter, which at the time I was working with Artemis. So it lined up there. But then for the Hunter to be exploring the ocean with her tears, as being the great bigger theme of that reading, which I did feel was more of like a not timeless reading, but it certainly wasn't the type of reading that was like, oh, just for the week. Like, no, this was big theme stuff. And I want to see the sustainer. Maybe with this being on the other side, that's where the river leads. The sustainer. Contemplate what truly sustains you. Make a list. Notice how simple yet powerful those things are and spend some time tending them. I like that. Second archetype in the trio of existence works behind the scenes, tending to the tasks of life. They cultivate, garden, pay bills, keep the meals warm and the mouths sweetly fed. The sustainer is at peace in the process of life, knowing there is no start or finish to humble yet meaningful tasks. They have a natural inclination to nourish others, to achieve, to preserve Earth's resources, to consider environmental impact, to see their role in the divine cycle of life. It is common for the sustainer to be overworked, leading to resentment. Sustainer longs to hold things in place so badly that they resist necessary change. I see where you are coming at me for. Okay. So yeah. That is my mini reading. I haven't done a year ahead reading. I don't know that I want to. I sort of, that right there was enough for me to get in. That's what, I really like this deck, so I want to work with it more. That's why it's the deck I want to work with more. It is so useful. It is such a great little deck. I don't know that I talked about it much because I got it, I worked with it briefly, and then I was swept away in other things. And it seems that is the theme, is surrendering. And I think I was going to talk about this in a different video, but if you've made it to the end of this, because of course it's become a long video as they always do, the thing I wanted to talk about with the Hanged Man, and having sat with this card a bit recently and knowing that it is my card of this year, not coming year anymore, it's here. There was this story that I had heard on Mr. Ballen's channel. I don't know if anybody else watches Mr. Ballen. I love his channel, but it was one of his most recent, it's probably at the moment is his most recent video, but who knows when you're seeing this. But it was about this gentleman in China who went hiking. He was an experienced hiker, but he went hiking in this area he hadn't hiked in before that was a beautiful trail. And it's like he tripped into an alternate dimension. And this was very disorienting. And, Mr. Ballen tells the story better than I could. But he couldn't escape. And this landscape was shifting, changing. And one of the notable things was that it was absolutely silent. Like he basically fell asleep and woke up in this silent version of where he had been, where there's not any noise from the forest, from the land, no animals, nothing. And everywhere he went, things started to change and nothing looked familiar. And shadowy figures were there and everything. And at some point of navigating this for what I think seemed like days at least, he got to the point where he gave up in a way. He surrendered. He accepted that he was in a strange place that he didn't know how to navigate. And as he surrendered to it and kind of fell into another spell of sleep, he began to hear like this distant, in his own mind, sound of the regular dimension that he's from. And he woke up back in it. And that story to me very much, or at least especially that aspect of the story, embodied the hangman and this idea of surrender. And of course I had pulled the Hanged Man the day before, and it was the deeper reading I'd been sitting with for the past day, letting it linger in the background. And that story struck me, so I journaled about it a bit, because he was in a strange place he didn't know how to navigate, and he finally just stopped fighting it. And it was in that resignation to what was happening, that he was able to hear beyond where he was to where he was trying to go. And that surrendering and being open to receive that connection to the dimension our dimension here built the bridge that took him back home somehow, some inexplicable way. I guess this part of China where he went hiking, he researched afterwards, and it is kind of known as the Bermuda Triangle of, I believe, southern China. I forget the name of it, but very interesting, cool Mr. Ballin video. If I can remember to, I'll link it below just because it's cool. But yeah, that idea and that story. Anyway, I just wanted to wrap up with that because it's what came to mind. And this has been very long. If you've made it to the end, thank you so much for indulging me in this. And I really appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for everyone who has followed along my channel this past year. I wish I was posting more regularly and shorter so it was more digestible. I kind of feel guilty posting so long of a video and taking up your time. And I really appreciate everyone who does watch and who comments. I hope to get better at replying more quickly. Life sweeps me up, and sometimes I don't know. It's just been a year. And I just want you all to know that I really appreciate every one of you that watches and shares something of yourself in the comments. I really appreciate and see that, and feel humbled with a lot of gratitude about it. So I'm going to wrap up there, and I would love to soon post my top 5, tarot, oracle, like all that kind of stuff, because that was what I had planned to do before I got sideswiped by the flu and all the rest of it. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day, evening, and a blessed new year. And I will catch you in the next one.